Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 292. And this week we head back to the Pearl Jam's Yield for a segment we call Write Your Own Song. Basically, put all the songs on the record in a blender and come up with a new batch of lyrics that really speaks to you and helps you reinterpret the record. Plus, the Grammys just happened, and I will tell you we have thoughts. The music industry might be shifting a little bit thanks to the cultural zeitgeist. Our three big takeaways from the Grammys are also next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I'm Tim Montana.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I am Matt Vaughn from Easy Street Records.
This is Pete Droge. And this is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed the algorithm.
Welcome to another episode of the State of Love and Trust podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Love an episode that starts off with a drum fill.
A drum fill.
Yeah,
I could hit the tom if you want.
You know what drum fill is called when its mother's mad at it?
A cream-filled calzone. I don't know. What is it?
No, a drum Phillip.
A drum fill.
Philip?
By your whole name this time.
Philip Anderson? I don't know what that means. Hi. Hello, YouTube. If you're watching here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We very much would appreciate that. And if you're listening only, Paul, what should they do?
You should rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. Feed it because we need it. You can feed the hope machine. You can feed the algorithm. Just feed something.
You feed yourself. Number one, it's kind of like the depressurized cabin in the plane.
Yeah,
feed yourself first.
Put your mask on first before
Exactly. Thank you. PSA for the week. If you feel like supporting the show and helping us continue on, we appreciate that. There's links below as the graphic will attest. And you could do Patreon. You could do Pod Shop stuff. I've got a Pilsner glass here. This is the.
I've got a whiskey glass here.
You do. This is the State of Love and Trust Pilsner, the 2000 bootlegs, the Pearl Jam 2000 bootlegs font. So this is pretty cool. You know, Paul, I think we should talk about the person who made this later on in the show.
I think it's a delightful idea.
We'll get to that in a little bit. First, though, this is an interesting
co-sign that idea.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Nothing happens on the show without a Paul co-sign because that's how this thing works. Basically, if there's an idea and Paul co-signs it, you know it's good. Anyways, so last week we did a review of Pearl Jam's fifth studio record, Yield, from 1998. It turned 28 last Tuesday, the 3rd, pardon me. And this week he said, you know what? There are like 5, I'm holding up 2 hands, there's like 10. 5, I feel like Varsity Blues. Give it 5, give it 10. There are 5 main, like, big ticket item segments that we do in the show around the Pearl Jam stuff. And that is, we do the retro reviews, which we did last week. We do an idea that you had come up with called LP to EP, where you shrink the record down to an EP, which is 30 minutes or less, usually between 6 to 8 songs. And then, 3 to 6 songs. And then we also do superlatives, which is a lot of fun. We bring on some friends and we play a little game. We have a little dry erase board. We also do the retracking. That was the very first major segment we did for the Pearl Jam stuff.
Controversial at times, too.
It was. The people, they got a little heated.
They did.
You know? And so we did those.
A feather we are known to a ruffle.
You don't really get through the algorithms, circuit if you don't ruffle a few feathers.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of this, Paul. You need a little bit of fisticuffs verbally.
A little bit of friction.
Yes. So the Yield record from Pearl Jam, I think we've knocked off all of those. We've done essential songs, we've done overrated, underrated. Those are kind of like lesser segments. But when we think about the Pearl Jam catalog, and I know a lot of you out there are big Pearl Jam fans, those are kind of like the main segments that we've ticked through all the records on. And Yield has one left that has not been accomplished. And that is the last of the big pile of segments. And that is write your own. We called it song. Then it became like song or poem. Kind of what's the basically take the record.
Composition.
Right?
It could be a prose poem. It could be a song. It could be a narrative. Essentially, you pluck out the lyrics that you think could be combined to make a brand new piece of art.
Mm-hmm. Last time we did this was back in the fall. We did Riot Act, and that one was a lot of fun. All these are fun because it's like you start seeing how songs have through lines to other songs in the album, in which are kind of more on an island, and maybe why that wouldn't work, and maybe why that song didn't make your EP version of the record, or maybe it got pulled off the record, maybe it led the record. There's all kinds of reasons why songs may or may not fit a certain headspace that you might have, because everyone's write your own, everyone's retracking, everyone's LP to EP is different. And I find the reasoning so interesting. And we've seen that online with so many of your comments. So why not give Yield its due? Tick all the boxes for Yield. We love Yield so much, as you guys found out last week. So let's do that. Let's get in. Let's get stuck in, as they say, and read through our poem, narrative, song things made up of Yield lyrics. Would you like to begin, or want me to begin, Paul? How should we do this?
I don't know. How about we flip a State of Love and Trust pin in order to find out?
A pin?
A pin. I got one.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes. What's what?
Heads I go, tails you go.
Is tails the pin?
Tails is the needle. Yeah, the pin.
Okay. Got it. Hits the mic. What is it? Oh, Tess, you go first. Okay.
I go first.
Go ahead.
It's the mic. Okay. All right. So, as you all know, or maybe you don't, but for those of you who've been watching and listening over the course of the last couple of years, when we do this segment, I have a tendency to veer more in the direction of the prose poetry zone, I guess, when it comes to an exercise segment like this. So, I went through all the lyrics, and this is what stood out to me. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. And by name, the name they gave me, the name I'm letting go, the whole world will be different soon. It's rare to come upon a bridge that has not been around or stepped on. Push me, pull me. Here's a token of my openness, of my need to not disappear. How I'm feeling, so revealing to me. I'll stop trying to make a difference. I'm not trying to make a difference. Push me, pull me. And sometimes is seen a strange spot in the sky, a human being that was given to fly. I wish I was a messenger and all the news was good. I wish I was the full moon shining off a Camaro's hood, stunned by my own reflection. It's looking back, sees me too clearly. Push me, pull me. And I swore I'd never go there again. I crawled the earth, but now I'm higher. We're all crazy. We're all crazy at war. They said that timing was everything. Push me, pull me, made him want to be everywhere. There's a lot to be said for nowhere. Two birds is what they'll see, getting lost upon their way. I swallowed my breath and went deep. I was diving. I surfaced when all of my being was enlightened. Push me, pull me like a cloud dropping rain. I'm discarding all thought. I'll dry up, leaving puddles on the ground. I'm like an open band for the sun. Push me, pull me. You don't think there's time to stop. There's time enough for you to lay your head down tonight. There's still time. It's no crime to escape.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Whenever you do these, you find a really good way to weave it together in a way where I can imagine it in my head. Like you're saying it, and I'm picturing a character doing the thing. Doing the narrative, being the person that you are describing with the ups and the downs. And I think that is one creates a music video in their head as you're talking, and I think that's the sign of success for these things.
Yeah.
What are you trying to? Go ahead.
Well, the funny, I shouldn't say funny, the profound, I guess, part of a segment like this and an exercise, and I say this every time you do it, is you start finding a thread throughout the album. You start finding these little connections, these points, without realizing that they were there. And I love this exercise because I find new meaning in the album as a whole. It's almost like you're taking a record and you're painting it with a different color, and it's still the same album, but you just see it differently now. And I think that an exercise like this is important because it unearths some real a real mineral base within this record that would be absent without trying an exercise like this. So I obviously, anytime Eddie writes an album full of lyrics, he makes this job really easy on me. So but at the same time, just kind of parsing out what you'll find interesting about this was, with the exception of Push Me, Pull Me, which I used as anchor points throughout that prose poem, essentially all those lyrics from top to bottom were in sequential order of the songs from which they come.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and that's what I found so fascinating was, when you go through all those lyrics, it still somehow paints there's a scope and sequence to it that doesn't feel disjointed. And so I think that those songs, that there's a progression to those songs and that those compositions and that songwriting that I don't think I realized until I went through this exercise.
Well, here's the true test, because I'm pretty sure we both retracked Yield completely. So with this in mind, this new thought in mind, after this segment, would you go back and retrack Yield, or just go back and be like, I was wrong, I should just do it in order that they chose?
There's a compelling argument that everything I say on this show is wrong.
or that what Pearl Jam chooses to do is often the right thing to do.
Who knows? I don't know.
You know what I'm interested in doing? I look forward to, and obviously, as many of you know, I'm sure a lot of you know, that this is a home to Pearl Jam, right? This has been the life's work for the past 5.5 years, and only in the last, let's call it a year or so, have we started like what's beyond, right? What has the love for that band also touched, right? And what other groups out there have made us feel certain things? And so I look forward to kind of trying our hand at some of these segments with other bands down the line. Think about doing a write your own poem for Radiohead. Like, holy Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That'd be fun.
So we can get wild with this stuff. All right. So I'm going to do mine now. And I'm curious to see if we have any. I don't think we have anything that's similar. There's a couple lines that I've picked that you've picked, but the order isn't the same. So Here we go. I had a false belief. I thought I came here to stay.
First of all, that's a fantastic opening.
Thank you.
You've already nailed it. You've already won.
Remember, there's no winning at art, kids.
That's true. All right, let's start over.
Okay, I'll start over. Okay. I had a false belief. I thought I came here to stay. We're all just visiting, all just breaking like waves. I just need someone to be there for me. I just want someone to be there for me. Whatever the notions we laced in our prayers, the man upstairs is used to all this noise. I'm through with screaming. You've been taught, whipped into shape. Now they got you in line. Stand behind the stripes. There will be order, so give a good mind. The whole world will be different soon. The whole world will be relieved. Can't wear my mask. You're first, my last. Stunned by my own reflection, it's looking back, sees me too clearly, and I swore I'd never go there again. Not unlike a friend that politely drags you down. Can I be here all alone? Clear a path to my home? And he still gives his love, he just gives it away. The love he receives is the love that is saved. And sometimes it's seen a strange spot in the sky, a human being that was given to fly. I wish I was the evidence. I wish I was the grounds for 50 million hands upraised and open toward the sky. There's a lot to be said for nowhere. It's funny when things change so much. It's all state of mind. It's no crime to escape. There's still time, so escape. It's evolution, baby. I'm not trying to make a difference. I'll stop trying to make a difference. No way. There you go.
I like that. Yeah. There's something insular about the way you did that. It felt like a really introspective person reflecting on not only transgressions, but also reflecting on what it means to kind of escape and what it means to be lost within oneself and to embark on the very, very tumultuous, arduous journey of finding oneself at the same time. And then just the frustrations along the way and the compromises that need to be made and that tug that push and pull, if you will. And ironic, you never used that line, but
I didn't.
I think, very cool. I salute you.
See, and the thing about this record is I was thinking also about how this record's been described by the band and by the media when it was first coming out. And I love the idea of feeling like sort of helpless with no direction, no motivation, like anxious, but then like something lights a fire in you and like it spotlights your ability to act. It ignites your agency. And you don't just use this newfound confidence and maybe anger selfishly, like you use it to help others, like to convince others that they have the ability to love, to affect positive change, to better the world around them. Like this is that story. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 4 by 4. The people find what's inside them, and maybe they don't even know it was there. But they needed someone else to believe in them, and so together, maybe we find the strength to resolve, to tackle the biggest problems we face, and to overcome them, which is the biggest thing. And this is why I end the prose with those words from No Way and sort of twist that meaning. No way. Like I used to feel like I couldn't make a difference. The mountain was too high. And I know everyone out there has felt the same way, but guess what? Fuck that. We can overcome it if we do it together, Paul. And I will stop trying to make a difference. No effing way. No effing way, right? The collaborative nature of the songwriting for this album amongst the Pearl Jam fellas is it's well known, like I said, and well documented. And I can't think of a more appropriate message for the band's music to send than this with this prose poem, with this narrative. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
I'm there with you.
Woo! I think I had a little topical news spice in me when I was reading those lyrics.
Well, I got to be honest.
Do it.
Topical news spice. First of all, this entire exercise was a perfect segue and appetizer, launching pad, if you will, into what we're going to talk about next. Because what we're going to have a conversation about right now is an award show, which I know some of you listening and watching just groaned, and I wouldn't be surprised if half of you, if not more, didn't even watch this award show. But it is an important milestone, I think, for a lot of artists. The Grammy Awards, it's the pinnacle award show, the Oscars of music, if you will. And I think it's important because this show oftentimes serves as kind of a cultural linchpin or almost like a watershed moment each year, which kind of portends to which direction music is going in, and ultimately where does music fall in the cultural zeitgeist of the times in which we are living? Like what does music have to say? And this particular year I thought was very important. So I was keenly observing to see what messages would come out of this show, how artists would present themselves, which songs would be recognized and acknowledged, and which genres would be highlighted. And so all that being said, I'm excited to kind of jump into this conversation with you where we examine what are some of the big takeaways from the Grammys. And I think that there's a lot to unpack here.
Yes. I think I generally watched, and I know many of us are the rock and roll fans, and the rock and roll often not in the Grammys show anymore, the primetime show. And they do that show at Crypto.com Arena in downtown Los Angeles, but across the street is LA Live, or the Peacock Theater, if you will, which is actually where they did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction a couple months back. And they do the big chunk of awards for all of the things that are not going to make the show, the broadcast show, there. And so you get probably like 85% of the awards are done at that dayside show. And that included a lot of the rock, your classical, your spoken word, your soundtrack, like this stuff that isn't the quote unquote mainstream. And so I tried to kind of dig into that. You see some highlights on Instagram, you see some highlights on YouTube, maybe you read about it. And so for me, taking that into account, what happened there, being a big rock fan as I am, and then also watching the show, because I like to see, like you said, what does the show find to be, for lack of a better term, important or worthy of the primetime slot in this particular year. I used to make fun of it because if they'd have rock on, it was like Green Day or Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
That was kind of it. You might get lucky every once in a while if AC/DC put out a new record. I think they played one time in 2016. Metallica did a thing with Lady Gaga in 2017, I think. Like, there are times here and there where you'll get some of these other big bands. But generally, I like to see, okay, so who's new? Who do they consider new? Who do they consider to be on the precipice of popular music? And so I try to weigh those two. And this year, we watched, my wife and I, and I'll give you my first takeaway, Paul. Should we flip the script and I'll go first? Okay.
Let's do it.
So, for me, the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things I took away, is that genres looked less defined than ever. Okay. One of the first things I noticed was the difference between traditional and contemporary country. I'm not even the biggest country music fan, Paul, but in fact, I don't even like most country, or at least I don't like most contemporary country. So I was glad that there was a distinction because I do like some of the old school stuff. But by splitting country into two sections, it also shows that more and more modern music takes cues from other genres. And I think the reason why contemporary country even exists is because of people like Taylor Swift, who started adding a lot of pop elements into country music that she was doing even a decade ago or more. I think it's a good thing. Even though I don't like the contemporary country, I think it's a good thing. I think the Grammys see musicians these days, whether they're legacy or newer artists leading the charge and not letting the old ways influence how they create music. So in a sense, life is imitating art now much more than art is imitating life. And I find that very refreshing, even if I don't like a decent amount of popular music. It also feels like music is being rewarded for being made authentically, maybe more than ever before. So I don't know that I love a lot of the popular music, but I like that we're seeing different, it's not so siloed as it used to be, you know? I like that.
Very cool. No, I like that as well. It feels like it's really evolving in ways that we hadn't anticipated. Well, for me, I mean, I think the first biggest takeaway for me is, I'm watching this show and I start thinking about like, what does this show mean anymore? Because I used to watch the Oscars with my wife, and it's been years since we've seen it, and you just kind of get to a point where it just feels like, a bunch of glad handing and rich, wealthy people slapping each other on the back. And yeah, exactly that kind of a deal. I'm watching the Grammys and I'm kind of thinking to myself, why do I go out of my way to listen to music far more than I have recently, like going out and watching a film. I'm now granted, I mean, there's less of an investment of time and funds, quite frankly. I mean, these days, you take a family of 4 to the movie theater, it's like $100. But what I find interesting is like, there's this pull, this calling. And I've found that, we're living in a society nowadays where, the tried and true staples that people would lean into to find emotional stability and to find answers, they're not producing the same answers that they used to. Whether that be, faith and religion, whether it's, leaning into your civic responsibility because you work as a politician, or you work as a city worker, or even if it's something as simple as like, hey, you know what, I like to passively watch and offer my philosophical take on things and provide meaning to people in that capacity. We're not finding answers in any of these places. So where do we go? Where do we lean from there? And what I'm finding is that music seems to be operating as this almost like newfound coda for people in a time where all of these other institutions that we had previously felt like were the pillars of our identity and our society, as I said before, whether it was our religion or our identity, via our profession or whatever, or even, political party, wherever you want to go with this, we're not getting those answers anymore. We're finding that those things are bereft of answers. So I guess, what do you do when your political identity is no longer providing you that sense of solace? Our system seems to be failing here in the United States. Our media seems heavily compromised. and even the spaces that we occupy together as a community no longer feel safe. They don't feel dependable anymore. So that brings me back to this idea of music being the place where those answers can be found, music as a coda. And so I guess it kind of raises a question, which is when music starts filling the space that those other things, those other pillars used to, is this real? Is that really what's happening? Is music actually filling those spaces and offering answers when what we see, we're being told is not what actually happened anymore? What we hear, what we observe, what we witness, we're being told didn't happen and isn't real. And I'm not just talking about, the political zeitgeist and all that. I'm also talking about artificial intelligence as well, where it's becoming harder and harder to decipher and distinguish between what's not real and what is. But music is real, right? Music is real. And before you offer the rebuttal that says, really? Because I can show you an AI program that can, the concept of music being moved to produce sound in a way that is full of harmony and moves someone who listens to it, that is always going to be real. It's like it's embedded in the fabric of human nature. And so, is music now kind of moving into a place that was once inhabited by those other pillars? And I think that is something that I found the Grammys to be making me question. Right. I posit this based on what I watched in this show, because it felt like a lot of artists kind of trying to figure out what their place is in a very unsettled world, as opposed to just, blocking out that world and then just partying and having a grand old time as though everything that's going on out there has no reach, can't reach them. I think what they're finding is it very much can and does and will reach them.
Here's what I think, and I think you're hitting on something that's I think going to be a through line on my last two, my last one especially, and that is that we are being forced now, and I say we as in like the general population who is generally comfortable here in the United States, generally speaking. Of course, everyone's going to have, I don't have to tell you that, it can be tight out there in the old wallet in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that it's not. But generally speaking, most of us are relatively comfortable day to day when things are operating in a normal fashion.
Yeah.
Things aren't operating in a normal fashion, obviously. And what that does is it starts to erode the comfortability barriers. Right. And I liken it to, you might have friends out there who say, who maybe they don't do anything on social media. Maybe they don't talk about politics at all. Maybe they don't talk about, religion at all or money or everything they choose. I've spoken about this before, but like they choose to portray themselves always in a positive way and everything is hunky dory. And it's like, nah. We're now confronting the fact, or we're now being forced to confront the fact that things are beyond the pale of just being comfortable. You can't avoid what's happening around you because it's affecting everybody you know.
Okay. Key expression, beyond the pale.
Right. So when you think about music, we think about music as an escape. We think about music as a way to cope. And those things are absolutely true. But in those silos, you could say, well, I'm here now, I got my headphones on, I can tune the outside world out. I don't know that you can anymore.
No.
It feels like those musicians kind of they can't ignore what's happening and they have to speak to it. And the music has to reflect that, because how do you avoid it? Because now if you don't acknowledge that, if you don't write to it, if you don't speak to it on your platform, on stage, on social media, it's almost like you're losing your authenticity by being comfortable enough to be like, oh, I don't have to speak about that. That silence in itself is an opinion.
Yeah.
And right now, you got to kind of have one, because even people that say, well, I don't want to get political. Not being political is a political choice, unfortunately, because all the politics things are affect other people. And we could not be more reminded of that than now. So when you have artists going up there and they're writing songs that say something, much like Springsteen and Dylan and Joni Mitchell did decades ago, the good music, in my opinion, the music that does something that forces you to think differently, not just about heartbreak, because we can all write songs about that till the cows come home and that'll all relate to us, but go deeper, go beyond that. I feel like artists are starting to see that, and you're starting to see them say things on stage. And I think you're going to see that reflected in the music over the next year or so. I mean, look at Bruce Springsteen wrote and recorded a song about ICE in Minneapolis over a weekend.
Well, he is the boss, man.
He is the boss. He's allowed to do that. But I hear what you're saying. It's unavoidable. It's no longer an escape route. It's part of it now. You can't avoid it. Has a part to play.
Agreed. Takeaway number 2.
Takeaway number 2. My second takeaway is that rock isn't dead. It just needs to evolve. And by needing, I mean, if it wants to be taken seriously by popular culture, which it doesn't have to, by the way. You might be saying, well, fuck that. And I'd be like, yeah, fair play. But if it wants to be included in that, it has to stay true to itself, but also evolve. And, we talked about records in 2016 that made us feel alive, those are kind of our soundtrack records for 2016 a couple of weeks ago. And one thing that I pointed out in that episode was that I don't believe that good rock music is dead. I just think it's harder to find because a lot of it hasn't evolved enough for things like the Grammys to acknowledge it, for Rolling Stone to acknowledge it, for it to be on the top layer of the zeitgeist. And that isn't to say that only good music makes it to the Grammys or is nominated or is awarded. Obviously not, because I can tell you a dozen records from last year that weren't even acknowledged from this year's Grammys. But to be nominated or awarded, it seems Grammys want you to try something new with intention. The caveat, of course, being that if you're a legacy band that has put out something worthy of your legacy, they'll kind of give that a little nudge. Think about Ozzy's last couple of records. Rolling Stones won last year for Best Rock Record over Dark Matter. Shame on you. But that's kind of the caveat. But, I look at Turnstile winning Best Rock Album, The Cure winning Best Alternative Album, and moreover, 9 Inch Nails winning Best Rock Song with As Alive As You Want Me to Be. And maybe the best example that combines my 2 points is Youngblood's cover of Black Sabbath's Changes from the farewell show last July in Birmingham, England. You've got possibly the next big, massive rock star covering arguably the greatest hard rock band ever winning a Grammy. And you got Turnstile and you got The Cure. Like you're hitting all those points. But my point is that these people that are winning, they are taking what's been great about rock for decades, and they're finding ways to push it forward. And that's what's going to get people to turn their heads. That's what I love about the Turnstile record. I think it's fantastic. That's what I love about Youngblood's music and his attitude and his humility. And I'm excited about rock. And we've spoken about some records that we love from last year, and I'm looking forward to more this year. But if we want rock music to be at the forefront, to make the main program, it's got to have as much intention or more so than it ever has before. But I'm here for that.
Love it. And I hope you're right. I hope rock's not dead.
It's not, Paul.
Well, speaking of trying to not be dead, at the outset of the show, I asked every one of you watching and listening to feed that algorithm.
Yes.
And the reason I ask you to feed that algorithm is because algorithms give you what you need, what you want.
Yeah.
Quickly, right? We want to be part of that algorithm. When you do a search for what you're looking for, we want to be in that bucket because we want to have these conversations with you. But we're one podcast. We're not an entire industry of music. Because when I think back to the algorithm of music in the 1950s and what it took to write a song and what those hooks were like and how many minutes that song should be and how many times the chorus should repeat and so on, there was a formula and there was an algorithm and it got songs on the radio. And that formula produced hit after hit after hit, and it conditioned people to have an expectation of what a song was supposed to be.
Right.
And there were albums that, broke the dam open and went against the grain. Concept albums that were literally an entire album comprised of a single song. Albums like the Beatles' White Album, double albums, even conventional bands in the grunge era would take experimentation to new heights. And I think that this is all important because when I was watching the Grammys, I didn't see that algorithm represented as well as I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to see a lot of high fructose. I really did. I really did. And that's not what I saw. I mean, I saw, music. When you think about music, especially the kinds of records that you and I enjoy, and most of, I would imagine, many of you listening and watching enjoy, the kinds of things that involve like sitting and really, really just being present with, like having patience with a record and not rushing that experience. Those are the kinds of things that seemed to be acknowledged during this year's Grammys. Those are the kinds of things that I felt were not pushed off to the side in favor of this algorithm. I find that we have been living in a very data-driven society, and that's in all walks of life. It's in my sector, in education. It's in your sector, in media. It's in the music industry. We're such a data-driven society now, and music remains a data-driven industry, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think you have to be able to marry that data with inspired art and intention and purpose. And ultimately, we're also living in an era where we are streaming at a rapid rate. I mean, it is like a hyper streaming era, to the point where people don't have the patience to sit with an entire record anymore. You know what I mean? And I felt like this particular show seemed to want to emphasize craft. It seemed to want to emphasize an artist's ability to create something that speaks, as you talked about, but also create something that stands as a cohesive statement and stands as a representative work of art, as opposed to a chopped up piece of a larger pie where only a couple of those little pieces, the singles who fit the algorithm, are the things that matter. And everything else is just there as filler. So I thought that this was the opportunity for music to recognize that full albums still matter, and that cover to cover, there's something being said. And when you just, chop it up in favor of data, in favor of hyper streaming, you lose the essence, you lose the context in which so much of this music exists. And so I suppose, it begs a question: if if we are rewarding music like this, if music like this is speaking to people now, if we suddenly have an interest in art that is created with a sense of purpose and intention, are we finally pushing back musically against trying to be quantified, trying to be predictable, trying to be that formulaic piece of an algorithm? And if so, I go back to something Kevin Martin said on the show when he talked with us a while back, and he had mentioned something about how there seemed to be a renewed interest in the rock music of the 90s because he felt like that was the last authentic era of real music. And this, to me, feels like it took times like these, to quote Dave Grohl, to finally get us to start pushing back. And I think maybe we're about to enter another era of intentional, purposeful music that has lasting power, that isn't derivative because the algorithm says it needs to be.
It's almost like you need to have societal flashpoints,
flashpoints, yeah,
to get people to say something beyond the high fructose. You think about the 60s, obviously. And then you think about the 80s, where it was a lot of high fructose because good times, baby, good times. We'll reap the problems of that decade later on. And then what did you get? You got the 90s, and you got people being like, oh shit, Gen X Left Behind and, the Seattle bands and the whole grunge scene, if you want to call it that, was a response to an artificially flavored decade of the 80s, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would argue there's a handful of records that came out early 2000s after 9/11 that said something strong. Do you know what I mean? I can think about, the last Rage Against the Machine record out of Los Angeles. Holy shit, that said something. So why that stands to offer then that over the next couple of years, we should be seeing records that mean something. And by the way, to your point, I believe one of like the 9 new artist nominees was like, you would think there'd be more of these, was like a TikTok person who like made their way on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't win Best New Artist. Leon Thomas did. And Leon Thomas, his first record came out in 2018. So, new artist, well, maybe he's new to you guys, but he's not new to his fans. And I thought it was a fantastic choice, by the way. His last record is awesome. I feel like R&B mixed with like a soul psychedelic thing. It's really, really cool. But yes, I am hopeful that you are right and that your perked ears are picking up a bad signal. I am mixing so many metaphors, but it's okay. It's all right. It's all right, Paul. I got my last one here. You ready for it?
Hit me with it.
All right. The last big takeaway, maybe the most obvious one, and that is Bad Bunny winning Album of the Year. I will tell you, Paul, I am not much of a Bad Bunny fan. However, I know that many people out there do. And I understand. I understand the attraction to the music. I get it. In fact, someone just put online a graphic comparing the Super Bowl halftime show artist Bad Bunny against the 4 artists that are on like the alternative Turning Point USA halftime show. Bad Bunny has 85 million streams in this context. The other 4 artists, including Kid Rock, mind you, who's been around for a minute, and 3 people that I've never heard of, have a combined 16 million streams. 85 million, 16 million combined. So, not to go on a tangent, but the NFL is simply following what people want to hear and not really making a political statement, although maybe it's a subtext. I don't know. But really, the reason why I say Bad Bunny winning Album of the Year is a massive takeaway is because it's the first time a Spanish language album has won Album of the Year, or I should say conversely, a non-English speaking record has won Album of the Year. And again, I don't understand Spanish at that rate of speed or very well in general, nor do I generally like his music, like I said. But I'm not everyone. And I appreciate that our culture is leading the award show. And it's sometimes old ears attitude and not the other way around. Like basically, it feels like a lot of these new artists like Bad Bunny have found the key the gatekeepers tried to keep hidden. And I think it's a massive statement by the 15,000 voters to say, that guy. Undeniable, that guy. And like I said, that's not my music. I can't grasp onto that. I can see why folks like it. And I can say, for the grand scheme of things, that's a statement. And I like a good statement.
I like a good statement too, but I thought it was notable that Bad Bunny didn't make a statement. We think he did, right?
He sort of did, but not really.
But hear me out on this. We think that he made a statement, but I didn't hear an answer. I didn't hear a solution. I didn't hear a strategy. I didn't hear a path. I didn't hear a strategic plan. And that wasn't what he needed to do. I think what was interesting about that win, what was interesting about this show, what's interesting about this trend that seems to be happening is I didn't see an award show that presented a slate of artists that were taking a stand. And I think that when I reflect back on certain eras of music, musicians felt like society was asking them to take a stand. But that's not what musicians really do. I think they try in their own way to take a stand, but I think what they do a better job of, rather than taking a stand, I think what they do is they translate rather than stand. They translate. They are able to find what we're feeling right now and what we're thinking right now. And I guarantee you, those of you listening and watching right now, you feel a certain degree of fear. I think you're angry. I think that you are keenly aware of where the love in your life is. I think you're confused. And I think good music somehow takes all of that and turns all of those things into something that you can endure and wear in a way that doesn't feel so overwhelming that you can't bear the weight of it anymore. I think that music is finally starting to understand that its role is to translate those things, to translate and not act as savior and not produce the answer necessarily. It's supposed to help us find the answer in ourselves. And when we stop expecting music to produce an answer and putting it in a position where it's either being judged on one side as shut up and just entertain, nobody's interested in what you have to say, or being seen on the other side as this is not deep enough, it's not giving me the answers I need. Instead, what it should be doing, what you should allow it to do, is speak to you in a way that it helps you, as like it becomes a conduit that helps you find the answers that you're ultimately looking for. And you become grateful for its presence in your life because it helped clear away the fog so you could find those answers for yourself. And I think it's ultimately the purpose that doesn't come from answers. It comes from articulation of those emotions and those thoughts that you're feeling. So when I think about this show, I don't see this as a mirror of society. You talked about art imitating life and life imitating art. I see it almost like a device that helps me navigate where to go. A compass, if you will. I see it as, rather than operating as this thing that's supposed to lead me, it's supposed to lead us, supposed to lead national or global culture towards something. It's really more reflecting, if you will, where people are and what they're feeling, which is quite frankly is exhausted. It's lost. It's searching, it's vulnerable, it's questioning everything you see and hear and looking for a real sense of connection. And I think that what you and I are trying to do with this show is speak to people who feel exhausted, who are searching, who feel vulnerable, who are questioning everything they see and hear, who are reaching out for connection. And I thought that the Grammys pointed out music's role in facilitating all of that more than anything else. And quite frankly, it might arguably be the last place, literally the last place on earth where people truly feel understood without having to be debated, without having to be argued with, without having to take responsibility, if any. And I think that that's important. What responsibility? So I guess that's the question, right? So if music, I guess, is one of the last places on earth where people can actually feel understood without being argued with, without being debated, what responsibility, I guess, if any, does Bad Bunny, does Metallica, does Pearl Jam, do any of these artists, what responsibility, if any, does that give them? And I guess what responsibility does it give you and me and listeners in the grand scheme of things? Those are the things that I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah. I think when you talk about music that's not going to have the answers, but it's going to make you feel seen and heard.
It's going to be the mirror rather than that guide, that compass, that navigator that tells me where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to think and what position I'm supposed to hold.
The best music, songs, record, whatever you want to call it, the best music is the music that makes you feel like you are understood.
Yeah. Agreed.
And that's why Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and all those bands in the early 90s broke through, because the kids who felt like they were misunderstood and forgotten or ignored, as their parents had to work overtime because thanks Reagan and everything else, they felt heard and seen by bands playing that music at them. And I've said this countless times in this show, Pearl Jam specifically. I fell in love because I felt like they saw who I was and felt who I was by playing the music that hit me, and we were simpatico. And that's music's superpower. When musicians and bands and artists write songs that make you feel like we are simpatico, we are the same. It's not you on stage 10 feet higher than me. It's we are in this thing together. That's the best music. They're not offering solutions because they're not paid to offer solutions. They're paid to make music that makes us feel connected. So if you got artists out there like Billie Eilish writing a song that makes people feel connected, and when she accepts the award and says "fuck ICE," maybe you feel that way. She's not going to write a song on how to reform ICE. That's not her fucking job, and nor is it Trevor Noah's making a joke about it. But it is, I think, their job to connect with an audience who feels a number of different things. And right now, a lot of us, like you said, feel confused, feel angry, feel concerned, some of us feel righteous. And we feel like now we have a purpose.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, there's a comfortability. Even when things kind of suck, there's still a comfortability in this country. But sometimes, we're over here and it's like, no. You have to, you can't look away. You have to.
You can't. I mean, music helps us understand those feelings. It helps us articulate those feelings, and it provides us with that sense of purpose so that we can actually work together as a community, because that's how we experience music, in a communal fashion. It allows us to work together as a community to find answers to those questions. And I think that the Grammys kind of showed that seems to be the direction that music is moving in.
And I love it. Yeah, I love it, man. You think about Tom Fogerty, CCR, Fortunate Son. You think about Bob Dylan. You think about
Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Gaye.
Songs that light a fire and go, oh shit, yes, I feel that way. There's no solution offered, but there's the connection, and I love that we're seeing that celebrity fan divide. That there's less of a wall now, and it's like, dude, we're with you. We just know how to write a hook and spin those thoughts into a lyric better than you guys can. But we feel the same thing.
Much better than I can, that's for sure.
Yeah, me too. But I love that. So I'm stoked to see that permeate through the broadcast, because a lot of rock bands and a lot of other groups or hip hop are going to be doing that, but they're not going to be on the main show, and they're kind of like, you guys are cute when things are better, but when shit's hitting the fan every goddamn day and you can't ignore it, that connection is more powerful than ever. And so I'm loving that the people who could avoid it, who could say, I'm just going to make music because they can afford, they're like, no, we're going to use this spotlight to really connect and not avoid. So that's
and if you're stuck between that place of whether or not you should be trying to make a difference or not, and some of this new music you're not finding as accessible, I can think of an album that came out a while ago that might help you navigate those feelings.
And as I said earlier, someone who's feeling without agency, feeling confused, you find that love inside, you find that strength inside, and you pass it on, and you help, and you lift up. That's yield right there, my friend.
Yeah, yes, it is.
The collaborative effort to make better. So, I hope this made you guys feel a little bit better. The last thing I want to say is, friend of the show, Karen Tigerson, brought to us the idea of spotlighting a local, smaller artist from anywhere in the world to kind of just say, hey, check them out. And I think we should start with Karen.
Let's do it.
Karen's great. Karen made this 2000 bootleg Pearl Jam design for our show name. She made the main logo that you guys see across social media. She made that. Yeah, there you go. She made the Vitalogy looking thing. The Vitalogy album cover looking design. What am I forgetting? More stuff. Oh, what else did she make? She made a ton of stuff for us, but she's great. And you can check her out on Instagram at Faust Machine, Faust Machine. I think she's San Diego based like you, Paul.
You know what? It was great. We saw her at Ohana.
Couple of times now.
Uh-huh.
Actually, did I ever tell you the story of how I first met her in real life?
You did, but it's been a minute. Regale me with this tale.
For those of you who don't know, 2021 Ohana Festival. You know, we hadn't had live music, and
is this the parking lot? You're the guy.
Yeah.
Love this.
Yeah. So it was after. I'm pretty sure it was after Pearl Jam played. It was like, you know, their second show back after the Asbury Park show. See Here Now, and my wife and I are going to head back home. It's like 11:15 or whatever. We stop at a Albertsons, basically just it's like a grocery store, and to get like some waters. And I'm like, give me some Sour Patch Kids, because I love those. And so I'm sitting there waiting in the car. She goes inside, and this woman like kind of comes over to my window and was like, "Hi, hey," and I'm like, "Hi." Roll on the window a little bit. Oh, I'm Karen. The one. Oh, Karen. The one. Yeah. And it was hilarious because I guess her husband was like near her or in the car or something like that. And he was like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "I gotta say hi to him. It's the guy. It's Jason.
It's the guy."
And then
I know a guy. I know a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy. And then my wife came back and we all had a good chuckle. But that was the impetus of meeting Karen. So, lovely person, number one. Because we don't deal with people who aren't lovely, right?
That's true. And I got to tell you, if you need some fantastic art done for your endeavor, I know a gal.
Yeah, I know a gal. She's also done some work for our friends over at the Wishlist Foundation. So if you are looking for some art, some graphic design, she is great. So Faust Machine on Instagram. Check her out. So anyways, I just wanted to say, thank you, Karen. You're the first local artist spotlight that we're going to do, and we'll do more throughout the year. So if you have a local artist that you want us to talk about and pump up, send us a DM or an email or whatever, and let us know who that person is and why. And we'll look into them and spotlight them.
Love this segment. We're going to do this a lot. Very excited about it.
Woo! Well, I'm almost
Karen.
done with my beer and my beautiful Karen design glass. Is that bourbon? What do you got there? Scotch?
A Kentucky bourbon this evening.
Fantastic. Next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after, more great shows coming. Interviews are coming. A new Patreon segment is coming. A lot is coming, Paul.
I am excited. This is a year of, hey, let's do the evolution, baby. How about that?
That's right. That is the tagline, as well as Feed the Hope Machine. We have multiple taglines this year. Just
none of them are ours.
No.
Just shamelessly pilfering off the minds of our betters.
Much like the first two Led Zeppelin records, we're just stealing the best stuff out there. Woo!
But hopefully, you good
Albert,
listeners and viewers see there might be a shred of talent in here somewhere. And keep listening. Because maybe, just maybe, there's a Led Zeppelin 4 in here somewhere for us this year.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for sticking around and enjoying this strange episode. We did the Grammys reaction, kind of a new thing, but I had a great time in getting deep here with Paul, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. So, plenty of good stuff coming down the pike. Like I said at the top of the show, if you want to support the show, links are below in the description for Patreon or the Pod Shop. Lots of cool stuff over there. Otherwise, like the video here on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell, all that crap. And Paul, audio only.
You're going to rate, you're going to review, and you might even subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm. It's cold outside, and it's hibernating, and it's coming out, and therefore very, very hungry. So please feed it. Do the due diligence. Feed it. Please.
Listen,
feed it.
You might be Punxsutawney Phil, but here in Southern California, it's
didn't you just tell me not to feed the algorithm so that we don't produce these formulaic? Ignore all that. Just feed this algorithm. Right? Ignore those.
Feed this algorithm. Yeah. And apologies to all of you who are still digging yourselves out of 14 inches of snow. It's been beautiful all week here in Southern California.
Yeah, Stip, my lord. Friend of the show, Brian Stippleman, sending us photos of his lovely property engulfed in a blanket of snow. And then Jason responding that it's in the 80s in Los Angeles right now. And Enjoying
bastard.
a Mai Tai by the pool. I don't know.
All right, gang. We will see you next week. Until we do, you've been listening to or watching
This State of Love and Trust.